Hello and welcome back to another brand new, exciting episode of Video Ditch. It's me, Sam, as always joined by Nick. We're back from LA, and today we're joined by a very special guest, not from LA, but from Nick's past, from a chance meeting on the streets of Boston. Nick, please, let us know who we're speaking with today.
Right, so who we have today is the brains behind Standing Cat Production, the team developing the soon-to-be hit new game, Nekomancer of Nowhere, a game which takes equal parts inspiration, I believe, unconfirmed, from Okami, Killer 7, and as yet to be unreleased, Romeo is a Dead Man. We met at PAX East. I was dressed as Tavis Touchdown, and Big Brogle, a.k.a. Ethan, flagged me down and said, "Hey, you're Travis Touchdown." I said, "Do you want to be on my show?" That was really all it took. So if you're a developer and you see me, I'm dressed in a costume, just recognize me. You can be on the show. But more importantly, I was intrigued by what they had to offer. And also, their setup was really cool. I like the CRT and the sticky notes. So that also was a big help.
Yeah, very good.
And here we are.
Yeah, for listeners, you can't see, but Ethan and Nick are both, if you guys want to show up.
Yeah, we shop at the same boutique. I went for the deep cuts, the silver case.
Love to see it. Ethan, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm a big Suda guy, so I was like, "Oh, it's Travis Touchdown. I like that guy." Anyways, I want to look at my video games.
Yeah, it was literally exactly what happened, word for word.
Well, yeah, today we'll be giving him the classic Video Ditch treatment, just reminiscing about the past, looking at his current project and, what's beyond the horizon for your studio or the game just in general, and closing out with some Q&A from our community. So
we have
thank you all for asking questions.
They have questions.
Yeah, we love to see it.
As stupid as they might be, they have questions.
Before we get into the past, your gaming past, I like to ask, all the guests that come on, especially at this point in the year, since it's halfway over, any game of the year contenders for 2025 for you so far that you played? Or, alternatively, do you not have a lot of time as a follow-up, with game dev? Like, is that the reality of your situation?
Yeah, no, I, not a lot of time on stuff, but the time I do have is mostly playing some older games, past couple of years, because doing those tabling events, like with PAX, like with MagFest, man, they go into the budget pretty heavy.
I can imagine, yeah.
So development has actually been a great time for me to slowly tackle my backlog.
Okay, right on.
So the most recent kind of project I wrapped up playing was I Am Your Beast by Strange Scaffold.
Okay. Yeah.
Ooh, that was a good one. Neon White is like up there for one of my favorites, and this was hitting like a lot of those same like neurons.
Frenetic,
Strange Scaffold.
Very cool. Yeah. Nice. I mean, the backlog's always ever growing, so any chance to cut it out or cut it down, it's very good. What about you, Nick? You've been playing anything recently you want to share?
Oh, I'm always playing stuff. It's if it's anything new, I don't know. I mean, I played all the Next Fest demos. I played 19. I played this game called Mouthhole because it was free. Mouthhole. It's I think it's delisted from Steam now, but it's a game where you're a disgusting little freak and your teeth are so bad that you're going to die in 5 days. So you have 5 days to kind of live your life however you see fit. I spent the first run through smoking cigarettes. It's just a pack a day until I died, which was pretty funny.
Wow.
I'd recommend it to anyone who likes weird or freaky stuff, and then you can lament how the team will never make anything else and they've vanished off the face of the earth. So it's real art.
Looking at screenshots, I can see why you.
Oh no, it's awesome! It's it's in my backlog. I got it in my.
You got it in time.
I got delisted. Yeah, I haven't played it yet, but
it's worth the try. It'll make you laugh. I found great, hilarious ways to die that really made me smile.
No longer available. That's crazy. You can see the Steam page, but you can't buy it.
They had a great vanity card too. Anything knows. They sneeze out the words. I was smiling.
I know we got a lot of the Suda stuff. Did you have a chance to try out a Hotel Barcelona?
I did. And I beat Jacob and I sent it to Swery and he did not respond.
How could you do that to him?
I know.
Your close personal friend.
My close personal. Well, I'm friends with Suda. Swery might be a little jealous.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Swery might be a little jealous of my friendship with Suda. Be honest with you.
the kind of experience playing Hotel Barcelona, it felt so much like the Xbox Live arcade to me.
Yeah, very
And
much.
going on there, that like it felt playing it on my
2.5D.
PC. I was like, this feels like a 360 game, and I was loving that.
Mhm.
Just pick up
Very
and play
good way.
kind of quality. Yeah. Right on.
And it still got, I did like that you get the hotel. I did see the like sweary-isms, like the way you exchange items, all the characters, and the closet monster upgrading your stats. I have no idea what any of it means, but I like it.
Yeah. No, I thought it was really cool as well, the way it like, it's kind of almost like, it's made kind of unique, like mechanical gimmick with the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really cool thing of like, you know, it's a roguelike, but whenever you die, like your past runs are also in your future runs. Like it's a little ghost who runs through, and they still damage all the enemies and stuff.
Like if in Dark Souls, if touching your bloodstain, it'd actually do physical damage to the enemies, if that makes sense.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, that does. That makes total sense.
So it's a cool way of like conceptualizing and like your death there, as well as it's like kind of the game's like almost pity system. It's like first time I went to Jacob, I died. My bad, not a gamer. And then the second time I had me from like last time where I like, you know, I face planted on him, came in and did like so much of his health bar, and I was like, oh, sick.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I guess I did do pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting way to incorporate your failed runs in a mechanical sense.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Shockingly good gameplay.
And that's from Swery? Or
Swery's Suda. I think that the way they bill it is Swery's the project lead, and Suda like had the idea once when they were talking in a bar, and Swery's giving him the credit.
Classic.
Yeah, I think like the Steam description is like from the minds behind Deadly Premonition and No More Heroes.
Oh, okay. Recent games I've been playing. I was telling Nick earlier that I picked up that game Mind's Eye. And
total piece of shit, right?
My God, what a disastrous launch.
Sam loves AAA garbage.
I love slop. Yeah, AAA slop. Yeah, I'm drawn to it, which is it's a problem for me. But my expectations were low, especially after the Summer Game Fest trailer. They did like a really epic version of Mad World, and I hate when trailers do that shit. You know, I don't know what I was thinking, but I picked it up. It was. I don't want to like, you know, just dunk on a game and be a hater, because I'm sure developers worked hard on that.
It's okay if it's a AAA game. That's kind of the metric.
I think to sum it up concisely, it's just like everything I don't want to see in the industry and in a single player experience is kind of present in that game, whether it's like bland design or just like really lazy programming of the game. So can't recommend it, you know, immediate dipe as we'd say here on the show. Yeah. But you know, let's not talk about the current state of gaming, right? Let's take a step back. Let's go back down memory lane to your past, Ethan. We like to ask every guest that comes on, you know, when or how did you get into video games? And
how did it all start?
Exactly.
Yeah. So growing up, my parents were like pretty anti-video game for a good while. They were just like, it's bad for you, yada yada. So I played like Flash games on the Lego website. That's what was safe for me.
Yeah.
And then my first console was a DS Lite that I was in the park with my parents, and we saw it like on a bench. And I was like, oh man, someone lost their DS. Oh well. And we like went away, had our day, like whatever. And then we came back like 6 hours later, and it was still there. And my parents were like, you can take it. So that's how I got my first console. And they had the Spirit Tracks cartridge in it. And I played Spirit Tracks, and I was like, whoa.
This is what it could be
this
like.
This is real gaming. Yeah.
They're going to say like, and had Flower, Sun, Rain. And I was like, this shit's like evolving.
Yeah. The first like when I played Smash for the first time, the only character I recognized was Sonic. Because I don't remember where I didn't know who Mario was. And I was like looking back at where I am now. What was up with me, man?
You just didn't have the level of access that other people take for granted.
I will say, in that little similar vein, I guess, with the dream of finding Sour Fun and Sour, you know what I'm saying? My first Fire Emblem game was Shadow Dragon, because I found the DS cartridge in the pocket of some thrift store jeans.
You find so many games. It's like you're living in Shenmue.
Yeah. Oh, look at this.
Random places.
My trinkets.
With a title like you said, Spirit Tracks, was what the cartridge was? Okay, right on. What other kind of early titles really resonated with you as you kind of?
Yeah. What formed your taste, would you say? What made you think like, oh, this is good gaming? And then on the other hand, oh, this is bad gaming.
Yeah.
So-
How did you discern?
What really got me, and it's part of what got me into the idea of like game development in the first place, was the PC ports of a lot of like the old Lego games. Playing
Really?
the PC version
Really?
of Star Wars, because those were awful ports.
Mhm.
They were so buggy, and they
Like
were
the
always
Traveler's
broken.
Tales games? Like
Yes, the
those?
Traveler's
Okay,
Tales ones.
right on.
Yeah. And I was like, every time I wanted to progress in those games, I would always hit some wall where the game would just break in some way. So I had to like counter break the game. Like I know when it was Lego Lord of the Rings, there was a point at the beginning of a level. It's like, okay, do the little fast build to make a staircase. Just didn't work. I looked at GameFAQs. I was like, why is this so hard? And it was like, yeah, just make the staircase. So I went to the overworld and then I like figured out a little gap in the barrier and no clipped and skipped the level. And I can level never got added to the
Ingenuity.
level list. Like I just deleted that level from my play experience.
That's crazy.
And it was like, and that was because I was like, that was like, I was playing those in like early middle school, late elementary school.
Sure.
So I like had the free time to just bash my head against the wall
Yeah.
at this
Right.
one little like corner for hours.
Speedrunner's
And it's like
mindset.
that was like the point where I was just like, oh, people make these because when I do something, there are a little mistake somewhere. So like that was the first time like game development was like humanized for me,
It's really interesting. Yeah.
And that was the point where I was like, oh, I like breaking these.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
make them.
Yeah. Right on. Before we get into your history with game dev,
Oh yeah.
I feel like I have to ask, when you became a fan of Suda,
Yeah.
like
So-
what was the first project that put you on his
Yes.
map or put him on your map rather?
I think it's the most common answer. No More Heroes. No More Heroes 1.
Oh, okay. Right on.
I
Yeah.
played, it was the Wii version.
Mhm.
I got a good way in that. I was very fond of it from the beginning. And then I didn't play 2 until it came to Switch, right around the time 3 came out.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Like years down the line.
Yeah.
Right
And
on.
then played Steam Port of Killer 7, and I was like, oh, this is like the best video game, just period.
Oh, nice.
I
You played the
love
first
this.
version too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so esoteric in
Mhm.
everything it does, and I adore it.
Yeah.
And then on Suda, I was going through them and I was like, dang, that Killer is Dead art style is really cool. And that game has a lot of issues, but I will
Mhm.
always say I think Killer is Dead has like the best combat system they've made.
Yeah, from one of
it
his games?
feels
Yeah.
so good to play. Like this, the animations are like so good. The feedback's so good. All the particle effects there. I think they cooked.
Oh, yeah.
They cooked hard on Killer is Dead.
It's a quality.
And
Mine
there's
was
like,
Zappa. Very cool guy.
made some other decisions in the game where I was like, I don't
I don't
still
jive
don't
with
understand
this,
this.
but-
Yeah, the story and then like
yeah.
the Gigolo mini game.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
they
it's
make-
fine.
They make that
He
whole
did.
system, and before I played it, I heard about it and I was like, oh, it's this huge awful thing. There's 3 mini. It's happened
Mm.
3 times in the whole
Yeah.
game, and I was like, why is this even here?
I'm getting,
I don't know. Publisher.
Japanese devs
Blame
love
the
that
publisher.
shit. Oh,
Hey,
the
just
publisher.
saying, Suda did not direct it. He was only the producer, which means he didn't actually have anything to do with it, if that's what
Ooh.
you don't like.
But I was like, I think the game's great outside of that, and that's the thing everyone knows about the game. And I was like, no, ignore it. It's barely there.
yeah, beyond
Feel,
that,
how,
there's
feel how
something
good pressing
very
square is
solid.
in this game.
Yeah.
Look at how
So
cool
good.
Mondo is.
Yeah, he's got a robot arm. Like, what's not to like? Yeah.
Then he showed up in Travis Strikes Again, and I was like, oh, it's like the guy.
I know. It was so shocking. I remember playing Travis Strikes Again, just being like, wow, all my friends are here.
That was the Switch. That was the Switch game.
That was a Switch one that had the, kind of
I
3D.
didn't like that one. I'll be
The
honest.
gameplay is not great, but story-wise, it's phenomenal. If you
Okay.
love every
Oh,
Suda title, it is
Yeah.
the ultimate, the gang's all here.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like all this.
Shut up
Even
with that
even
game.
the random Connect game is brought up into the Travis universe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Killer Pitch or Fever Pitch or whatever. Deadly
One of those,
Pitch,
yeah.
Assassin's Pitch. I don't know. I didn't play. I didn't have to connect.
Because it's also what like the DLC for Travis Strikes Again is the one that was also like, hey guys, aliens are coming,
Mm.
like leading into
Leading into
3,
three,
as well
A
as
little
like
illusion.
Henry came back, and that was the first time Henry was like, yo, I'm a little weird now. I saw that Thor movie.
I'm kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you ever think about how you're kind of like a Loki kid, Travis? And he's like, Henry, what the fuck are you talking
What are you talking about? Yeah.
He's so badass. His design in 3, though, it's like as weird as what happened with him is, holy moly, that design in 3 is so good.
Oh, yeah. It's straight from Silver Case. It's fantastic.
Yeah, can't remember the concept artist or the artist for that off the top of my head, but
me neither, but it
was so cool seeing that style again.
Yeah, like realized in present day. Yeah, right on. Very good. Nick, any more questions for Ethan about the gaming past before we talk about its history with game dev?
Gaming past, well, not in particular. I mean, Suda 51 is the main thing. That's the main connecting factor. That's why we're all here, really. I myself, I don't think I would have even considered games to be something besides, that thing I do to not think about everything else going in my life if it wasn't for Suda games. If I didn't play No More Heroes and Killer 7, I'd be like a brainless, drooling caveman, essentially. It was like the mushrooms the monkeys ate that turned into humans, you know?
Yeah, when Travis cut those guys' heads off and
when Travis said fuckhead, I had a brain blast at me.
Dude, like a month ago, I sat down with some friends. I was like, "You guys are playing No More Heroes now," and we got through I can't remember his name. That's the second assassin you fight, baseball pitch man.
Okay, yeah, right.
Oh, Dr. Peace.
Dr. Peace, yes, we got through Dr. Peace, and then since then they've been saying "fuckhead" so much.
Oh yeah,
like, I got
robbery on the short kick. That's right.
Yeah.
Perfect, as it should be.
Yeah.
No More Heroes is the perfect way to introduce people into the Suda world,
yeah.
I think. Any other game, they'll be like, I am not reading all that shit, man. I don't know what's happening.
He was in college, he was a English major. So he's like, that boy actually like reads.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, for Christmas, I gifted him Silver Case. And I was like, I still haven't played Silver Case myself, but I was like, I know enough that I'm like, you will like this thing.
That's what Nick says, yeah. Cannot stop recommending it, yeah.
It's the greatest visual novel ever made.
Yeah, I gotta be in the mind to read, and that doesn't happen.
I hear you.
That's the thing. It's great, you know, if you want to fall asleep, you can put aside a good 20 minutes a night before you pass out reading it.
Then you might forget stuff. Is that a dream or was it real?
Yeah. That's what makes it so intriguing. It's all part of the meta narrative. It's all integral. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Very excited for Romeo as a Dead Man. I
was gonna bring.
I was like, this feels like a Suda thing, but the graphics are too good. I'm not sure if it's Grasshopper yet.
Right, and then the fake out was over.
Yeah, I was very excited about that. So really looking forward to that. And then the Grasshopper book that's coming out with Lost and Cold. Yeah, I'm very excited for that. Shout out Blake Hester. He's the one writing it. Big fan of his writing.
Very cool. Blake.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered that also. I'm waiting on that with bated breath.
Good. All right. Well, that gives me like a good idea of your formative tastes and kind of what shaped you there as a gamer. Regarding game dev, when was like your first like foray into game development and what was it like? What were those projects like?
Yeah. So my first proper game dev project I made a procedural dungeon roguelike, and it was really bad. But my flash drive I use for everything. This little fella right here, it still has Dargon's Dungeon on it.
Nice dungeon.
No, it was
cool.
I did a summer camp at what ended up actually being my university years later. And it was a game design camp where it was 2 weeks. The first week was like, here's how you make a video game. And then the second week is like, okay, make whatever game you want. So I worked with a little team there. I learned I was bad at programming already right there. And then I learned, I really like this though.
Yeah.
And I made the lovely little Dargon's Dungeon. It's exclusively made from free assets on the Unity Asset Store. And then it has a song. It has the default dance song from Fortnite in it.
Perfect.
Wow.
Because we were like, that'd be funny.
Yeah.
So, as bad as that game is, like legally, we can't ever sell it because, of course, I don't have the Unity project anymore. But that was that first one. Then I did a lot of 2D. I tried making a fighting game during lockdown.
Is Unity the main engine you work with, or did you?
Yes. So I'm primarily in Unity and in university because I went to uni for game development. Unity is like the main one taught as well there. So I've dipped my toe into Unreal. I've dipped my toe into Game Maker. I've done a decent bit of Godot, and I really like Godot. But still, Unity is the one that I know all the tools the most.
Right on. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. I was just curious.
No, you're good, man. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where it started. And then if I didn't get accepted to this game design program, I was going to be an electrical engineer.
Wow.
I was like, I'm either making games or I'm making circuits. It's one of those two.
Yeah.
And now here I am making those video games. Goodbye,
crazy.
circuits.
You went the path I wish I had taken.
Inspiring stuff, truly.
Yeah.
Very good. So with Nekomancer, I suppose, how far along in your progress as a developer would you say?
Yes. What was the formation, the formative process, and also is this the first Standing Cats project as well? Under the Standing Cat banner.
The studio was formed around the game.
Okay. Yeah, right on.
So yeah, the way that went is at our university, we all have like senior years, like you do your capstone. So it's like both semesters. It's making like a much more like the only requirement is really you make a video game and then it's like your best game. That's kind of the requirement, is make sure it's your best game up to this point. And I was trying to I was at the big senior showcase event the year before mine. And at that point, I only had 2 people I knew I was going to work with. It was myself, the composer of Nekomancer, who I was already friends with, and then a programmer who I barely knew, but I had a class with him, and I was like, "You want to do capstone together?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." It was at that showcase event. He came up to me and he was like, "Hey, Ethan, the programmer, what if our game was Nekomancer?" And immediately in my head, I was like, "Well, I can't lose this programmer. I don't have any other programmers yet." So I went, "Yeah. We'll do Nekomancer."
Sure, man. Yeah.
So
anything you say.
For the first 6 months, we only had the name Nekomancer, and we almost game jammed ourselves into like having a theme before we had a game yet. So
sure, yeah.
Our initial development process was so like we had a Google Doc that we set up like a text forum where we would like indent replies to ourselves.
Right on, yeah.
Of game ideas. So it's like some of the ideas, it was like Nekomancer. What if it was like a murder mystery set in a hospital? What if it was a single player MOBA where Nekomancer was a class?
Okay. I love that. Just throwing anything at the board.
And then we hit the, what if it was like a movement shooter? I still like this idea. I came up with this one. What if it was a movement shooter where you threw bones at skeletons, like they're missing bones? And that idea, we ruminated on that one a bit. And then like our artist was like, well, our main 3D artist he was like, well, I want to model a character. So it should probably be like third person. So we put the camera back to third person. And then we were like, well, how do you get bones? It's going to be in another world. Well, how do we show that other world? Okay, let's make it like isometric. Okay. And we just ship of Theseus into our little isometric puzzle game from the movement shooter idea.
How interesting.
Yeah.
So, I never would have guessed. That's
are there elements of that initial idea that are still in the game, you think? Or is it just completely vanished?
It's pretty, I mean, like the Nekomancer and resurrecting. That's kind of what's remained.
Yeah.
I do really want to make, I made a really like prototype version of the throwing bones version, a while ago. And I do want to revisit that one day. Maybe that can be a spin-off title.
There you go. Yeah.
Down the line. But yeah, no, we started like in that initial, there were 3 of us. And then we picked up a couple of people for like the course in university. So we went up to like 7 for that. And then since graduating, the team has grown up to 11, and it's been that 11 that's been with us for most of development.
Very cool. Very cool. With I suppose like narrative design, at what point in the process do you start thinking about narrative? Is that early on, or do you think mechanics first before inserting a story?
It depends project to project. I know whenever I come up personally with like a pitch, I always like my 3 like metrics are it's mechanics, narrative, aesthetics. Those are like the 3 values, and every time I come up with a pitch, I kind of weight those of like what's their order. Nekomancer is definitely a mechanics first title initially, like when we were making it. Because where we were at with just like academic deadlines, we were just like, we just need a game done. Story comes later. So initially, the story, we wanted it to be very like Cult of the Lamb, where it was kind of like comedy with how it dealt with like death and stuff. And as we thought more about like necromancy stuff, we were like, we don't really want to make this a comedy. And then as well, even a bit later, my partner and I, our pet cat passed away during development. And that really like shifted how we thought about a lot of that. It was a little, our game about resurrecting cat people tied in with our actual cat passing away. Made us start really kind of a little more introspective of just how we talked about like death in this game and what we wanted out of it. Because I think that's one thing, like we always knew it was going to be Nekomancer. Nekomancer is our good guy. And as we started really thinking about like how, can you have a good guy necromancer? Is that like, can necromancy be ethical? So we were thinking about that a lot. And that's what a lot of the narrative is just like necromancy, kind of like necromancy and how it ties into like grief and like moving on. And as well, like I know we are not limited to just the glare.
Is that Sonic Adventure 2?
Maybe this is the soundtrack for the game. There is more than one Nekomancer in the game. So that's a lot of how we like unpack various perspectives of just how do you think about resurrection and what are the ethics behind this? Because like early in the game, you know, to establish it, like in the demo, you know.
I was gonna say, I was surprised.
We're just like, oh, dude,
go into that room and you see
like
all the ghosts you just
as you get kind of further and further, we do put in a lot more pushback to necromancy as an action from like those people you talk to, and we do actually like later on as well introduce like choice into like a little bit like, okay, you've done this enough, player. Let's see how you kind of feel about some of these opportunities here.
Wow, that's awesome to hear. I didn't realize that the ethics of it were going to be explored.
Yeah, I'm very glad.
Such a depth.
Glad.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yes, because I was wondering how the interaction between the puzzles and the world building and the setting were going to interact. I'm glad to see that it is going to have some real moral conflict, some real trying things that make the player actually think instead of just mindly resurrecting after he goes to try and get his themed trophy.
Yeah. No, I like bringing it back to Suda. Talking about death is cool.
It is.
And
it's cool to kill people.
Oh yeah. And
unless
then
it's not.
It's like what does death mean? And it's just like how would someone actually talk after death?
After having
like, thinking about what that actually might mean and what that might entail.
Yeah, right on. Nick, you got any questions regarding the game you'd like to ask right now?
Yeah, I'm very glad to see the more introspective side of the story, or to know about the more introspective side of the story to come down.
Yeah, that adds
later down the line. So you're mentioning the addition of player choice. Does that mean that there's also going to be branching paths, maybe different endings, different routes for the player to take as they progress in the game as well?
Yeah. So it does still have one ending. But there is a lot of like meat kind of in the middle that does shift around depending on how you kind of play out things. Because regardless, it's like the kind of Nekomancer character reaches the same point at the end of the game. Because we tried very hard making sure that the Nekomancer was still a character despite them only talking in emoticons.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah. So there is a lot more focus as well of just like, because that is one thing, like when I'm able to talk about the game, I want to talk about the narrative a lot because we know like with just how the demo, like our demo is very built for tabling, right? Like places like PAX. And we know it's like, well, people don't want to sit down and like read. Anyone who like tables a visual novel, God bless you. Dude. I don't know how you do that.
Herculean efforts.
Yeah.
Just really high stakes choices.
Like that's almost ties into like earlier, like when early in development, we were very mechanics first. And that's kind of how we present the game in like those marketing places is like mechanics first. And then if someone's like, that's cool, and then they stand up. I'm like, hey, you want to hear about the story though?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very cool. I'm glad to know that there is such a narrative element to the experience. And yeah, I think giving the enemies sort of that personality, even if it is just like a small bit of exposure, it does a lot to kind of recontextualize your relationship with them as a player.
Oh yeah,
you begin to look at it
it's
in a different light.
That creates that unique dynamic because it's like at a pure mechanical level, you're like defeating your enemies to progress, but in the flavor, they're being reanimated. They get life again. So we really wanted to make sure that was like still something that we were able to portray because that like helps. It's a more unique, I guess, angle for how you kind of interact with enemies and stuff.
All right, I agree. Cool. As far as the sort of like painting mechanic of spells or runes, as you would call them, what were the main inspirations for that? And we kind of spoke about Okami, I think maybe off camera, but were there any other titles that do that you?
So it's not almost as much a title that inspired it, but the medium of just mobile games. Okay, one of our programmers, she almost only plays games on mobile. That's just the game.
Gamers like those exist.
I know, yeah. So I know early on she was actually like in that kind of, I was talking about like that forum. She was really pushing for like us making a mobile game. And that's part of that element that got kind of brought in was just like, well, let's have something, the idea of drawing something. So that's kind of where that was initiated. And then the kind of example we always use is Okami. It's like that is the one that people know, and it's the one that most of us know. I think it's honestly like the games that do it are like defined by it. But there's really not that many of them, and it's enough that there isn't a Steam tag for drawing. I know we were like, when we were setting up the Steam page, we were going through like all the games we could find that had drawing elements. I was like, how do they like tag this mechanic? And it's like, usually it's like artsy because there is like, there's like a drawing tag, but it's like for drawing software. So it's like, like Blender has like that art tag. I was like, I don't know if we fit under that one. So mobile. The long and short of that is mobile was the main inspiration.
That's interesting.
For the drawing. Yeah,
very cool to hear. Nick,
so I know that you are anticipating a lot of darkness, a lot of choice, a lot of weight to these the storyline. So what exactly are you hoping that players are going to come away from the game with when they're finished playing it? What impact would you like to leave?
Yeah, I like that question. So I really want it to be a game that kind of nails home the idea of just like grief is okay. And it's like, there is the point where it's just like the idea of just remembering someone is enough, and that like you can continue to move forward. So that's the big message of just like, you do not have to be like chain yourself to this past, chain yourself to your memories. You can continue to look forward. And that's something that like kind of pushes like a lot into the Nekomancer, because they're like, like resurrection's awesome. I'm gonna resurrect everybody.
Very gung ho.
And as we get that more pushback, it does try into the more of just like accepting where you are at. And that's also a lot of like those other, like the living characters. I know in the demo, we only have the Gravekeeper. And there are, four other living characters who all also have their own journeys about just like people from different walks of life also coming into this like tombstone tower. And a lot of their journeys is about like figuring out just like, why am I here? And what am I trying to get out of that or out of this? And like, what do I want out of my life? Well, the Nekomancer's talking a lot about like, what do I want out of my relation to other lives? So I think that's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I think the main message is that like, it is okay to grieve. It is okay to remember, but at the end of the day, tomorrow will always come.
Very cool. Very cool. There's a surprising amount of emotional depth with the project. I love to hear it.
Very nice. Yeah, don't wallow. Or rather, don't wallow forever.
Exactly. Death is a natural thing. As natural as living.
I made it for you guys.
Oh, right. Nick's going to live forever. I forgot.
Gamers respawn.
Gamers don't die. Yeah, they're going to piss me off. You look like just enough XP. You get another 1-up. Oh, and so what is the estimated time that people can get their hands on the game? I know there was the PAX demo which I played, the Next Fest demo as well. What's the estimated time of release?
Yeah, so we're still aiming 2025. We actually had an internal release date set. Summer Games Fest was a nice thing for us to get a calendar marked out of, these are days we can't release game on.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, on our kind of planned release date, there was a game that, I won't name names, but man, that was like a cutesy action puzzle game with an animal protagonist, huh?
Death Stranding 2.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So, Kojima did it again. Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, but 2025 for sure. Okay. I'm really hopeful we'll be able to have a public release date over the summer. We are in the process of maybe getting a publisher sorted. So that might change how we do some of our release date stuff. But I really want to try to get it out this year. That's my goal. But at the same point, I don't want to have to hit the Twitter apology for the delay.
Still working on it.
So that's why I'm hanging on to putting it super public until I know we can for sure.
Right on. No, fair enough. Yeah.
For now, hold out hope for this year to get your hands on that game.
2025.
2025.
Year of the Mancer.
Very good. I have one final question about kind of development. Do you have any plans to bring this to consoles? I know we kind of talked about the experience of playing it on Steam Deck.
Yes.
I assume you intend most people to use a mouse and then keyboard as the interface here. Is controller support something that you guys are trying to develop or work on for this game, or is it more of something on the back burner?
Yeah. So our order of events, because right now we, publisher in the works, that would give us funding, but right now we are fully self-funding. So our day jobs are what is paying for all things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, we will not be having universal releases on all consoles on the same day. So we're going to be releasing PC first, and then we are definitely doing a mobile port. I can confirm that 100%.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
Makes sense given what we are talking about there. And then I do really want to try. I think a Switch 2 port would be really cool.
I think that would make sense.
Holy moly, the mouse Joy-Con.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah,
we are still working on getting a good version of controller. We're thinking potentially trying to kind of switch how it works to almost be like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. If you've played,
I have.
The kind of how they do the graffiti there. It's where it's
kind of the
connect the dots,
input based.
Yeah. So we're toying around with doing something similar to that because I think at the end of the day, it's we want it to feel good to do. The drawing is it's fun. I'll say it's fun. I'd like to think
it is fun. No, I think so as well. Yeah.
I think fighting game players can do it off the rip, No harder than a Shoryuken.
Crazy inputs.
Oh,
yeah.
No, but I want to make sure that it feels good to do. So for controllers, if we do need to switch that around a little bit, we'll be doing that. But yeah, so
very cool.
PC 100%, mobile 100%. Other consoles, hopefully we make enough money on the other port versions.
Right on.
We can pay for console ports.
Okay, if you want to play on the Switch 2, buy it on Steam first. Just don't even open it. Just buy a bunch of copies.
Yeah, send it to your friends. Yeah, exactly.
You bought a Switch 2. Clearly, you have money to burn, so just buy a couple of copies.
Very good. Well, we're looking forward to that potential 2025 release. Hopefully everything just a smooth rollout for you. I guess kind of moving on and looking towards the future beyond launch. Do you have any kind of plans for post-launch support and content or maps or any sort of narrative kind of add-ons?
Yes. So I did mention how there is more than one Nekomancer.
Yes.
You did.
I don't
know.
I think that might be the answer to the question.
All right.
Okay. Very kind of like a chain of memories Riku route kind of thing.
So true. Yeah. On Steam, it does still say one of our similar titles is Kingdom Hearts for whatever
Perfect. The greatest meta narrative you can get.
Right on. Okay. And then for you personally, Ethan, what are you looking forward to spending your time playing when your plate's not as full with game dev?
What are you going to take your nice relaxation.
Yeah, your victory
Yeah.
lap. What's that game
Yeah.
looking like?
And is it Romeo is a Dead Man?
That'll be up there. That'll be very up there. I watched that trailer so many times. I think currently, my most anticipated game right now, outside of Romeo's a Dead Man, 500 caliber contracts.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
Bryce B.
I am so excited for that game. I played it at the Next Fest, and I think it was the October Next Fest.
Mm.
And I'm hoping that 2025 release date happens.
Very good.
Yeah, that game is so cool. It's the Y2K grunge, the whatever, mom. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go with Black Ops. It's so delightful. They talk about Bionicles in the demo, and I'm like, I'm sold.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. A very, very OG Xbox kind of menu.
Okay.
Organic technology, fusion, crazy stuff.
Yeah, and they got this musician, the composer for it is Shinigami. He was really big in 2015, 2016 emo rap. But he also makes metalcore.
Okay.
And I really liked his metalcore back in 2015.
Right.
I opened up that 500 caliber contracts demo, and I was like, "Is this fucking Shinigami?" I listened to this
immediately, that's awesome. Very good.
Everything you could ever wish for. Perfect.
Yeah. So that's cool. High up there. I think that's the number one game, and then backlog. Hold on, I'm opening up my Steam page really quick.
Yeah. Well,
what else we got on here that I'm looking to play?
Yeah, Umi Neko no Naku Koro ni whatever.
For sure. What else? I do really want to play. It's one of the backlog ones. Children of the Sun.
Sun.
You're familiar? It's
yes. It's very Killer 7 inspired.
Yes. There is.
Oh, is that where you control the bullet?
Yeah. The one bullet sniper game. Yeah. No, it looks really cool, and I'm pretty sure that one was a solo project, which I always have such the utmost respect.
Deepest respect. Yeah, solo devs are crazy.
Yeah,
I am complimentary way.
Our composer for Nekomancer, they're actively working on their solo project, and they're ramping up for release and just following along, kind of in those trenches with them as they're doing everything. Is it's crazy because that's the thing. It's just if you take a break, the game just isn't being made. There isn't hey, can you handle this?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Multi-talented.
Wish Creatures on Steam. That's
Wish Creatures.
Wish Creatures.
Wish Creatures.
Put that in the description as well.
Yeah, right on.
Also, Wishless Wish Creatures. Is there a Next Fest down for that as well?
They haven't done that yet. They were in. I think the demo is public. They did the. It's a creature collector.
Yes, it's very Game Boy Color kind of. Actually, kind of more like a Neo Geo Pocket or WonderSwan, the size of the sprites.
Yeah,
very good.
I'll talk briefly on that. They they originally
little plug,
a game. It was like a super low res game jam.
Mm.
So they made the game. I think it was at 64 by 64.
Yeah, it's
initially. So that's part of why the character is so small still.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've since scaled it up. So Wish Creatures. Give it a look. It's cool.
Very good. You bring up your composer, and I always like to ask about the music. In people's games. You mentioned earlier that you already kind of had a relationship with them through university, and you just kind of brought them onto the team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. I guess the questions would be more for them.
The main inspiration behind the music. You're the director. What do you force them to make the music like? You say, make it sound like this.
Give input into a theme or what you're thinking, and then you kind of just let them work, or how's that process between you two?
So initially, the soundtrack was being composed very chronologically, and it also tied into pretty well with how we were figuring out a lot more of the story elements. So a lot of the songs now are much more tied to the emotional theme that's going through each floor, because each of the 9 floors is themed around a different layer of hell. And how do we compose that? And a part of that is as well, it is, you can see this feature in the demo. I'm glad I have my soundtrack CD over here. I don't know. Yeah. You can't see it super well, but every floor has 2 names. And the way that works is
the like dynamic music when you shift.
Yes, the dynamic music. Where in the living realm, for every room, it plays a more kind of orchestral, like classical composition. And then when you flip to the dead realm, it seamlessly swaps into a like electronic kind of EDM.
Yeah, you get like drums and
yeah. And some of them have like chanting coming in and out as you flip. So kind of universally, it was that the kind of instrumentation for the whole floor kept that like living realm is classical orchestral, dead realm is electronic EDM stuff. And then figuring out like, okay, well, I know I'm working with these instruments. How do I make this read? I think they did a good job on it.
Okay, yeah, very good. Looking forward to hearing more of the soundtrack. Yeah. Okay. Well, Nick, any more questions about the game or its future, or shall we dive into community?
I think we should get into our wonderful big old minds, our community minds, what they have to say. They have so much to say. All right. From Antoids, who never fails to ask a question.
It's true.
Could Jesus microwave a burrito so hot he himself could not eat it?
Oh, classic Ant's question.
I did see this one in the little docket, and I was curious. I was thinking about this one. This is the question I put the most thought into.
Oh, good.
And I think he could. I think he could make a microwave a burrito that was too hot for him to eat. Because I think underestimating the temperature of the microwave is an innate human experience. Every person who is even way old,
even the Son of God.
Right.
Yup. They had the idea, they like were, cooking in whatever the cooking at the time was. Everyone has overcooked their food. It's innate to the human experience, including the Son of God. So I think Jesus has overcooked a burrito.
One of his trials, an apocryphal trial that was left out of the final cut, unfortunately, but it was in there. All right. And if you can see the image, how should the left leg be posed in this image? So this is actually a bit of won't be a spoiler because people see the thumbnail. This will be the first episode we have a guest artist working on. Friend of the show, Raccoons, actually asked to do the thumbnail for this episode specifically.
Oh, thanks, Raccoons.
So this is a little work in progress he had of the Nekomancer. And I've seen the other half. He is blasting Sam and I with deadly magic. So get ready for that.
Delightful.
Yeah, similar to the little thing that I made. But anyways, how's the left leg? Is it looking all right? It should be posed.
Yeah, we'll blow that up on the screen for viewers.
Send that over to our beloved editor.
Yeah. So look at that fellow. Portals are a big part of the game. If you just don't want to draw the left leg, you could have him partly coming out of a portal.
Okay. I'll convey that to him.
Yeah. Very good. Coming in from producer Hugh. He asks, "What's the best cat type?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real questions now.
It's a Persian.
Oh, he's getting serious on it. I do have a very high affinity for the orange cat.
Love an orange cat.
Violent cats.
One. Yeah. My partner and I's old cat, his name was Travis. I did not name him that. He was already named that when I met my girlfriend.
Just Providence.
It is Providence, yeah.
Yes. Travis was a delightful little orange fellow who he learned very quickly that, if I hit a paper bag with my arm, it's louder than if I hit other things. So if I want to get their attention, I can just hit a paper bag really loudly. So good thinker, Travis. Orange cats.
Good.
Sam, what's the best cat type?
Me personally, it's going to sound like I'm just copying right now, but I do love an orange cat. Or a classic black cat. We've got a couple we had 2 black cats at home.
Yeah, was it Abyssian or something? Is that what it's called? Doesn't it have like a name for a black cat? I don't know.
Sounds epic.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, evil souled, well, whatever. It's something. From Hunter, fellow game developer, friend of the show, first ever guest we've ever had on. He asks, meow.
Meow.
3.
There you go. That's a great response.
And from Raccoons, an actual question. How did you implement your dynamic lighting and shading system?
Before I answer that, I got to clarify. Hunter, that was a valid question. Okay, I don't know what Nick said. Dynamic lighting shading system. So I handled the lighting for the game. So every floor is broken into like 3 lighting layers. So there's the basics is just directional lights. It's 2 directional lights for each floor for kind of a main color and an accent color. And then we have a lighting profile, which kind of changes the whole color correction for the floor. And then lastly, we have a big post-processing layer for each floor. Post-processing, I did some really wacky lighting there. So you might see it in the extra floors in the demo, but like Gluttony, for example, is entirely in black and white. And as part of that, all the materials, like all the characters, have unique textures for that floor, so they're actually still visible. So it does use, for the lighting, it's all handled with Unity's built-in like universal render pipeline tools. And then for shading, we use a modified version of the Unity Toon Shader, where I set that up by not looking at any of the documentation and just flipped every switch on and off until I saw what it changed well enough. And I was like, cool, I'll make this what I want it to look like now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I've heard from other developers that Unity is kind of notorious for actively trying to make using its lighting the default. Just makes your game look as horrible as possible. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, that was a big thing. Like one of our mantras early on was just like, nothing can be the default value in the editor.
Ugly.
Because it like, you know, I know that like student project has like a stigma when you're playing a game a little bit, you know? So that was one of our big things is we're just like, we want to make sure that like the kind of innate like stereotypes of student game were surpassed by us. I will say on that note, Pokemon team, please guys, just put like a toon shader on it. Change the lighting. Pokemon Legends Arceus, such a good game. Why does it have the default Unity lighting? Just
Why
like
is it so ugly.
Just put a full screen render pass. That's all you need. Just like crank the saturation. Okay, up the shadows a little bit. That's all you need. That game will look infinitely better.
Yeah, a desperate plea coming from us here from Video Ditch right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
And yet, probably still going to buy the new one.
Oh, yeah.
And just complain about
it.
Hey, Game Freak has that new, what was it? It was that crazy game they showed. It was like at the Xbox show. The like realistic, it kind of looks like Wild Hearts, honestly.
Yeah, that action game.
Yeah, the new action game. They can do graphics. It looks really pretty. I was very impressed.
It's freed from the shackles of the Switch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very good. Well, our last question, coming from Raccoons, they ask, what was the most difficult aspect of the game to create that you expect will be the least appreciated?
Yeah, immediate answer for that is the main menu. We have, so for the main menu, it changes based on your save data. And as well, when you load the game from save data, it has a big, like every single, like from the starting area to any of the floors, it has a unique animation for all of those.
Wow. That's
so
super
if you
cool.
Quit between any floor, it'll have a unique like loading the game thing. The game's pretty short. So like we are pretty aware that it's like, you know, it is feasible to beat this game in one sitting. So will people see the cool loading screens? I don't know. But you heard it here first, Video Ditch listeners.
Very good.
Be on the lookout.
The game, it looks cool when you open it again.
Yeah, take a break, you know?
Yeah. Go outside.
Come back.
Had a real cat.
Every 30 minutes or so. I think that's what they said in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Right on. Oh, very good. Thank you for those insightful answers, Ethan. And thank you, community, for sending those questions in.
Yes, thank you.
Good questions.
I know I'm hard on you, but I just want you to be better, guys.
And with that brings us to kind of the end of our show. Ethan, if you got anywhere to plug your project, if you want to let viewers, listeners know where to find you.
Where can we find you?
Yeah, let us know.
So Steam page is live with a demo you can try. So that is Nekomancer of Nowhere on Steam, and our little studio is Standing Cat. So we're Standing Cat on Blue Sky, Standing Cat Prod on Twitter. I'll still call it that. Standing Cat Games on Instagram. and Standing Cat
nice.
Games on YouTube. Basically, if you go Standing Cat and we don't show up, try Standing Cat Games. And then if we still don't show up, Standing Cat Prod. And then we show up.
Right on.
Awesome.
Very good. Thank you. And Nick and I will leave all our links below.
Regular stuff. Join the Discord. We type in there at least once a week, guaranteed. You can find us saying something once a week. Call into the voicemail. I might have to reactivate it. I haven't checked it in months. I just assume no one called
years, perhaps.
Yeah, that's there.
Check out our latest episode where we break down our experiences at a Summer Game Fest with
live episode
from Dual Layer. Yeah,
very, very topical stuff with all your favorites. Internet celebrities, all the stars were there. All the stars.
Yes, but with that, thank you, Ethan, so much for coming on and talking about your game. Yeah, we're really looking forward.
Of course.
Thank you. This was a very fun little chat. I'm glad making video games, making the cat game got me to talk about Suda. So
me too.
Very good. Right. Well, until next time, viewers, listeners, take care of yourselves. Keep on gaming in the free world.
That's it.